Hey everyone, welcome to Empire Secrets. I'm your host, Mariana Henninger, and I wanted to share with you today what the power of the brand video is. If you are new to my world, I'm going to explain what a brand video is because this is the most powerful tool that you can have to build trust with cold audiences, build trust with your future customers who might not be connected to you, might be following you, might come and check you out, but there's not really a strong reason for them to see you as any different from anyone else offering something that's similar to what you offer. And so the brand video is the thing that will not only set you apart, but will create an instant, undeniable connection with your audience so that in their minds, in their sort of mental real estate, they are placing you as the undeniable go to in your niche so that every time you show up, there's a lot more impact. There's a lot more acceleration of your sales process. They are a lot more attuned to you. They pay a lot more attention. And attention is the most important thing that we are fighting for, that we want to have with audiences, because when they pay attention. And then when they pay attention, they pay. So, with that said, if you are new to me, I'm Mariana Henninger. I'm an Emmy Award winning documentary filmmaker turned online business owner, and I'm obsessed with emotion based marketing. I've worked for massive companies like Microsoft and Hulu and Wells Fargo and HP. I've had stories on the front page and the homepage of the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, Time Magazine, documentaries on Peacock, and I've been nominated for two Emmys and one Emmy. So this is what I do. I do personal, intimate storytelling that actually makes people feel something, that actually now in the context of marketing moves the needle in your business. And what a brand video is, it's something that I conceptualized. It's not something that you may have never seen before, but I can promise you that you very likely have never seen a brand video in the way that I teach it, in the way that we do it for our clients. And what that is a 2 to 3 minute video that builds trust instantly with your audience. It tells your story in a very specific way to accelerate the feelings of trust in your audience specifically, so that after watching that video, they're not only completely attuned to who you are, they feel like they know you, but they also feel seen and heard by you. And so after watching that brand video, which lives top of funnel, it lives pinned on your social media profile, it lives on your email signature, it lives in every single place that your audience will find you. Your welcome sequence, you can use it as a friendly hello, nice to meet you for every new follower that you get on social media. You can also use it obviously on your homepage, on your About Me page, which is the second most visited page on any website. So a brand video is really a forever asset that lives in so many different places. And I want to talk today about the power of brand video. So if you're not new to my world, you've heard me talk about brand videos. You've probably watched brand videos. If you haven't watched one, you can pause this and very quickly watch at least one brand video at brandmagnetic.com/brand videos. I want to highlight a couple of really amazing stories that have come from clients that I've worked with and students that I've worked with. Now, I will say, I'm actually going to start with probably not the most important thing, but the most surprising thing for me working with business owners. And I work specifically with online business owners. So if you sell your business online, if you are using digital marketing to sell your offer, typically you're the face of your business. But even if you're not, I've worked with folks who were not the face of their business or weren't, a very forward facing face to the brand, but through their brand video, they were able to create this really deep personal emotional connection that pushed sales forward, that accelerated their sales process. And so I want to talk about some of these. I'm going to start with something that's really surprising that came from a lot. And in fact, it probably came from all of my clients and students that I've ever worked with. There's something that inevitably so many of them say about the process of working together at the end of creating their brand video. And that is, so this amazing byproduct, if you will, of this process is confidence. The clarity that they have at the end of working together on exactly who they serve, exactly who they are, not just themselves, but who their audience is, and knowing them so deeply, which is a very important part of the process of working together, is having to know your audience so deeply, like deep in their gut feelings, deep in the things that really move the needle for them, that are keeping them up at night. What are the things that are telling themselves in their sleep, that they're waking up to, the things that they're crying about, things that they really long for? So that really deep rooted gut sort of fears and desires and just like pangs, right? Knowing their audience that deeply. But also getting to know themselves and why they are amazing and why they are so important for the work that they do. And then having that confidence at the end of this process to be like, wow, I can actually really own who I am now. I'm showing up with so much more confidence because I know what parts of me, what parts of my brand, what parts of my story will connect the most with my audience. And I can really double down on that. So that is a really awesome byproduct of working on a brand video, is just having this amazing confidence from knowing yourself deeply, knowing what parts of your story are going to move the needle for your business. And then, also knowing your audience really, really deeply, caring about them, showing that you care, knowing how to show it, knowing how to speak to them so that it actually touches their hearts. But some of the bigger sort of ROI pieces of the brand video I want to talk about today, because it really is a matter of, how do I use this asset in my business and what is it actually going to do for me? I think this all sounds great. I love this idea, blah, 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 but does it actually work? And so I'm going to give you real life examples of things that have happened that I want you to imagine yourself with. So I want you to imagine yourself 3-4 months from now with an asset that is doing this for your business. I have clients who have used their brand video to triple their click-through rates on their welcome sequence and to skyrocket their response rate. So imagine people coming in cold to your lead magnet. They're in your welcome sequence and they feel so moved by your story, by the way that it's told, that they are compelled to respond to that email and share their own story. And so I'm thinking specifically of a client of mine where this happened, and she shared that people who had listened to her podcast for over a year wrote to her saying, "Listen, I've listened to you on your podcast for over a year, and yet I feel like I know you so much better now." I cannot tell you how amazing that is, right? For a cold audience person, and well, in this case, it was not a cold audience person, but for folks who are coming in cold to feel so seen, so heard, so much resonance, so much inspiration that they respond to an email. That's amazing. That is amazing. I get that happening to my welcome sequence as well. All the time, I get people responding saying, "This works. I feel seen. I feel heard. I loved your story. I feel kind of connected to you. I barely know you, but I feel like there's a connection here." And guess what? Those people are going to pay a whole lot more attention. In fact, I did a survey a while back and I asked folks two questions. I had them watch a brand video and I asked them two questions. The first one is, will you pay more attention to this person's content? If you were following them, would you pay more attention now after watching their brand video than you would before? And the answer was, I think it was like 95% yes. The second question I asked them is, do you feel like you trust them more after watching this brand video? And again, it was like 95% yes. And so it just goes to show you, it's one video that's incredibly intentionally curated, intentionally crafted. It's not a reel that you kind of throw together and hope for the best and hope the algorithm shows it to somebody. It is something that you articulate very clearly and that you work on very specifically and you put very intentionally in front of cold audiences. Everyone who comes into your universe should watch your brand video. A few other client stories are, I love this story from Nadia. She used her brand video. Once she published her brand video, she got so many emails saying like how inspirational it was, how much they felt like they were inspired by her story. They felt like they knew her so much better. And the thing that she describes is that now people are booking calls with her without the 5 emails back and forth, without having to like get to know each other over DMs and message here and message there and back and forth and follow up. People are booking a call and they're already sold on her. They're literally like, let's do this. How does this work? Tell me how this works. Tell me what your packages are. Can you imagine getting people into a discovery call that used to be a whole thing? It used to be a whole mountain you had to climb, all of these arguments and trying to get people to stay on so that you could build rapport with them and blah, blah, blah. What if all that was taken care of before you even got on the call? Before people even said hello on the call, they felt like they knew you. They felt like they had already had a warm introduction to you. This is the trailer for your business and for who you are. This is the thing that warms people up so well to what you do. And it's all encapsulated in a brand video. You do it once and it works for you 24/7 while you're sleeping. This is truly passive sales in that it really accelerates your sales process while you don't do anything else. This moves the needle in your business. A few other things that have happened to myself in this case, my brand video, I went on a podcast and is a fairly large podcast. And I don't feel like I have my sort of podcast speech nailed down. I don't always sell my lead magnet in the best way. Like I'm not the most prepared person on a podcast, but although I listen, I'm a great podcast guest. However, I don't feel like I sell well on the podcast, if that makes sense. I'm not there to sell, actually. I'm there to have a conversation. And so after going on this podcast, I had people reaching out to me. Like, I can't even tell you. People were DMing me directly on Instagram. I closed over $30,000 in sales from that one podcast. And I kid you not, every single one of those sales went like this. Listen to your podcast episode. I watched your brand video. I want one. Let's do this. Like, where do I sign? It was boom, boom, boom. There were no sales calls. It was literally people wanting to work with me immediately after watching my brand video. And I can't tell you how amazing that is. How amazing to have an asset that does the heavy lifting for you. That really touches people's hearts, that makes them feel something right where they are, that meets them where they are with an impactful message that they will now position you as the go-to person for the thing that you solve. I was actually talking to somebody, she's a marketing coach, and she was saying like, I really work one-on-one with folks and I'm very relationship based. It has to be a good fit. I have to be a good fit for them, but kind of importantly too, they have to be a good fit for me. And she said, it's all about relationship building. And I feel like I get on so many calls with folks that are not qualified, but I know that if I knew how to package this sort of relationship building that happens on a discovery call, if I knew I had a way to take that and do that at scale, I wouldn't have to spend so much time on discovery calls with folks that are just not ready to work with me. And yes, there's some, there's some fringe benefits to doing that. People will remember you and will stop, but you need to be able to do that at scale. You can't scale by having one-on-one coffee chats with every single potential client. You need to be able to do that at scale. You need to be able to have something where people land on your website and they immediately know who you are. They immediately feel what you're about. The last thing I want to share with you is my own success story around my brand video, in that once I released my brand video, so I have been selling the brand video accelerator for about 2 years now. And prior to my last launch, I did not have a brand video myself. I believed in this tool. I taught it. I did it for clients. I was definitely, the cobbler fixing other people's shoes. And I was like, man, I started seeing my clients' results and my students' results. I was like, I want this for myself so badly. And I finally did it. I finally finished my brand video. I got it to work. I started putting it everywhere. And lo and behold, after releasing that brand video, my launch revenue went up by 600%. That is insane. It was actually around 620 or something. So this was me before a brand video, and this was me after my own brand video, where I was like, why did it take me so long to create this? It truly is a tool that you cannot replace. There's nothing like it in the marketplace. It is not showing up every single day, not having the exhaustion of having to feed the social media content machine, spending hours on a reel only to have it get like 500 views and barely any likes, and trying to tweak, trying to like think of a million different ways to stop the scroll. It's nothing like that. This is the thing that attracts people who are looking to learn about you, and it gives them that. It meets them where they're at, and it builds trust instantly. So, with that said, I hope you can imagine yourself in this world where you have an asset that's working for you 24/7, who's doing the heavy lifting, who's giving you a freaking break, and who's actually this team member that is clone of you, basically, who's not relying on what's working in the algorithm. Because honestly, what works is human connection. That is the thing that never changes. And the brand video is entirely orchestrated around human connection. Last thing I'll say before we wrap up this episode is that I'm working diligently on the webinar that's coming up next week. It's going to be all about the trust triggers, how to leverage the trust triggers to accelerate your sales in this noisy market, in this place where folks are selling your thing left and right to your people louder than you are. And you feel like you have to scream to be heard above the noise. You feel like there's no way you can get enough visibility, and still you're probably reaching people who are not ready to buy, who are not perfect fit clients. So, how to use the trust triggers to change that around and to only attract the perfect clients for you, but not only that, to attract them faster and to be able to accelerate that process, because you can sell 100K in a year and you make a decent living. But if you sold 100K in a month, wouldn't that be so much better? So it's really compressing time, how to compress time with those trust triggers. So be on the lookout for how to sign up for that. If you have not yet grabbed my cheat sheet, this is a way that you can get started on telling your brand story. So grab that at brandmagnetic.com/cheat sheet. Connect with me on Instagram at brandmagnetic. Say hello. I will say hello right back. I love hearing from you, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. I will see you on the next episode of Empire Secrets. Bye for now.